Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. Thanks so much for staying with us. We've been talking today about catching them at the curb and why that is such an important thing. It's not just a catchy phrase. We talked about earlier about how buyers literally, we've seen it more than a few times, will drive up to the house and literally tell the agent next, they don't look at the house. It just goes back on to if the house isn't maintained on the outside, it's not a good thing to maintain it on the inside. So with that said is let's go into decks and patios. The biggest thing I can tell you with decks and the biggest issues that we see more times than not from buyers and their concerns is that the wobbly stairs are the wobbly railing. And that could be around the deck or even walking down the stairs. That is the number one thing that we see happening, and it's such a simple fix. In most cases, it doesn't take much, whether or not the seller is able to or not, to bring in a handyman and just make sure that's secured and solid. What we've seen is that the people all of a sudden think that the deck has to be replaced. It must be no good. It must be bad. Those buyers that have written offers on, many times, not always, but many times, those offers have been much, much lower, usually in protection of themselves, thinking that they're going to have to put a whole new deck on. When the simple fix is usually just some securing the stairs, securing the handrails, and also around the deck itself, the railings around the deck, which traditionally most of them have. Make sure you do that. It's a simple thing. Yes, you may have to replace a deck, but actually it's very rare. And if you do have to replace a deck, many times you just have to replace the wood if it's been rotted out, depending on how well it's been maintained through the course of how long the sellers own the house. Sometimes it's just a few boards. But safety also is important because you have some rotten sections. You don't want somebody falling through. And yes, we have stories of that happening. And luckily, we've not heard too many anybody getting seriously injured, but we have had some twisted ankles and some scraped up ankles and even knees. So you don't want that as a homeowner too. You don't want that liability. So making sure that you have those, taken care of, and that's why decks are beautiful. They're fantastic. But if you have those things, as I mentioned, that's going to cause a concern for buyers. Of course, you always want to have it stained in good working order. As we're moving into October, moving into November, December, that may not be always possible. It's great if you can, but if you can't, as long as it's maintained, you want to make sure that it's sturdy and steady. That's the main thing. And yes, it's nice if you can get it stained, but it's not always the end of the world. People kind of get that, especially the time of the year. With patios, I think the thing with patios that you have to keep in mind is the biggest thing is make sure they're swept off, especially in the backyard. Make sure there's no leaves on them. Make sure people can see them. And what we run into problems with, we've seen sellers do is maybe the patio isn't the best. It's a concrete patio, and maybe it isn't the best shape. And they will rip it out, and they will spend $1,000 more to put a brick patio in. Again, I would urge you to reconsider that. In most cases, if you just maintain what you have, a concrete patio, that's fine. If you want to, you can put the brick in, but it's not going to give you a return on investment. The same thing is if you do need to get a deck replaced, strongly encourage you not to go with one of those 25 or 50-year decks, okay? It's not that they're not a good product, but again, I've seen sellers spend $20,000, $25,000 on these decks, and there's not a return on investment. I mean, the appraisal is just not going to appraise out. Even if you try to put it on there, we've seen the appraisal just knocks it out and says no. A deck is a deck is a deck. So you want to make sure that you have that. The other thing, too, and what a subject that I meant to bring up before, the front door, catching people at the front door is really important. Some of the little things become big things, and that is when people walk up to the front door, did you paint the door? I mean, the front door, is it weathered? Having just a fresh coat of paint doesn't take too much to do that. Makes a whole different appearance. to buyers and different impression when they get closer up to the door. Also, making sure that lock, and we just had this happen to one of my agents, could not get into a house because the lock was stuck. And they just couldn't get in. And the buyers just got frustrated. There were some other houses they wanted to look at. And this situation, unfortunately, for those particular sellers that we couldn't get into, the buyers bought another house. They never got to see the house just because of that silly lock. Look, I get it. Most people, especially have an attached garage, you never use that front door. And the only time that you have that key, you got to go even look for a key to give to your realtor so they can put it in the lockbox to be able to show it. But make sure that is maintained. One of the simplest fixes, one of the very simplest fixes is get some WD-40 sprayed on a key. Prefer not to put it in the door lock. It could stain as it rolls down the door, and just work it a few times. 95% of the time, that's all you have to do. And again, those little things do mean a lot. So you want to make sure you have those things in place. Paying the front door, making sure that the lock is working. They seem, pretty simple, and most sellers get that. But there are occasions where sellers don't, and it can have some really tragic, consequences of potentially losing a sale. It's one of those situations where you don't know if the buyers never get inside the house. Who knows what could have happened? You want to make sure you have those things. We talked about, again, the decks. Don't over-improve the patios. Putting a brick patio in is not going to give you the value that most sellers think. So keeping what you have is a good thing. And again, the locks, painting the doors, and maintaining the decks. And do those things along with the other things we talked about earlier about the yard, and you're going to have some fantastic success. You're going to have people that are going to eyeing your house, and that's what you really want. You want them to be saying, wow, my gosh, this doesn't have too much landscaping, has just enough, and has the yards in great shape, and the trees are easy to walk past. With that said, I'm always offering the book. The book is absolutely free. So many people have already gotten it, and I do appreciate that. The feedback has been very positive. I do appreciate that, too. But go to ReadySetSold.org, not.com, ReadySetSold.org, not.com, and go get the book. It's absolutely free. It'll be delivered to you by mail. No questions asked. With that, we're going to do the tip of the week coming up next, and that has to do with retaining walls. So I'll leave you with that and see you in a few.